Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another semi-final in the LA Sevens. We've just seen an upset. The Fijians defeated by Argentina, so they are through to the final. And now it's the question of which Trans-Tasman side will be taking on Los Pumas in the final match of the LA Sevens. They actually mentioned a very interesting stat just before. 92 times in history, these two sides have faced off, and 73 times the Kiwis have been victorious, but it is going to be New Zealand kicking off this matchup. Akulia Rokali Soa knocking it back. New Zealand now with a little knock on. It will be Darby Lancaster who's able to clean it up. Now Clements goes back across. Maurice Longbottom. Henry Patterson breaks through one tackle. Collier able to drag him down though. Longbottom receives it. Clements with the offload. Now Henry Patterson once again finds himself in space. The big man in motion, trying to go through, running backwards. Now finds his offload to Maurice Longbottom. Josh Turner. Of course, no James for this match. Did end up getting injured in the last game, unfortunately. Lancaster, 10 meters out. Kika, good luck. I think regardless of which place New Zealand gets in this, they will still be at the top of the table. Yeah, with the other top sides, such as the South Africans struggling and Samoa also only playing off for that fifth place matchup, it does mean that New Zealand have got that side advantage. That's going to be a high tackle. Maurice Longbottom tries to charge at the line, 5 meters out. Dietrich Roach, one more pass. Henry Hutchinson, or sorry, not Henry Hutchinson, Henry Patterson has scored the first try of the semi-final. Just realized that my voice is probably going to be gone before the end of the next three matches. We are covering that fifth place playoff game between Samoa and Great Britain. We will be covering the third place playoff game between Fiji and the loser of this contest. And then we will be covering the final, which is going to be the winner of this game up against Argentina. But now the drop kick's unsuccessful, hasn't really got the distance or the accuracy. So now the score remains at 5-0 for the Australians. A very good start to the semi-final match. Like I mentioned, unfortunately, James Turner injured in that last match. Seemed to be some sort of thing to do with his left leg, whether that was top of the leg or bottom of the leg, not too sure. I think the way he was walking, it kind of looked more like hamstring than anything else. So he is missing from this matchup, which also means that Australia only have 4 players off their bench rather than the 5. Now, Maurice Longbottom out to take this kick. Does decide to go to the near side of the field. Slapped back by Lancaster, but it goes straight into the hands of Leroy Carter. And from here, they will not get to him. He will score the try between the sticks, and now New Zealand straight back into the contest. And that seems to be a bit of a trend that we've seen, not just from New Zealand, but from a lot of these finals matchups. We've seen a side score first, even though it may take a little while to get there, and then the opposition just scores straight away. And they always say you are at your most vulnerable when you've just scored. Australia found that out firsthand. New Zealand will get themselves into the lead for this matchup now, 7 points to 5. So there's a few Kiwis in support of New Zealand in LA. Looking at the tournament tries, he's second equal at the moment, alongside Esdale and Lopez. Right at the top of the bunch, though, Ioane Teba, 8 tries so far throughout the 5 matches that the Fijians have played. Lancaster takes it again. A big opportunity for this youngster. Sam Dixon with the counter-attack in the ruck. Does get the ball back for New Zealand. Now Joe Webber goes to Dylan Collier. Rokalisoa slings it across. Again, it will be Leroy Carter. Collier had the option, or in fact, it's Amanaki Nicole. Dragged down by Lancaster again. Carter plays half. Goes to Moses Leo. Webber now. He's got Rokalisoa next to him. Now decides to use him. He's straight through the gap. And New Zealand will get themselves their second. And they are now leading this game 12 points to 5. Now, I should mention the final. When it does take place, it will be kicking off at 2:28 p.m. New Zealand time. The third place playoff game at 1:58. And that other game that I did mention, happening between Samoa and Great Britain, that will be kicking off at 1:30 p.m. New Zealand time. Slamming that ball down. Rokalisoa 60th try, I just mentioned as well. That kick is successful. Yeah, of those 92 times that these two sides have met on the Sevens field, 17 times the Australians have been victorious. Broccoli Soa currently the leader in the Sevens try scorers. He's sitting on 26, ahead of Pilomaliko, who is sitting on 4. Nice take from Lancaster again. Manaki Nicole tries to shut him down pretty much instantly. Roach goes across to Turner. Now, nice step from Maurice Longbottom, I should say. Josh Turner to Roach. One more now to Lancaster. Gets a bit of space. Almost gets through the tackle with Carter as well. And come on, New Zealand win. Get revenge on Argentina. And nice steal, says Novmum. And they will be on at least 100 points if they get 107. Cheers, November Mum. I still say Novmum. I think it's kind of sneaking out with the old name. Now Roach. Big shot from Nicole and Carter. Turnover is unsuccessful, though. They've said that he's left his feet. He's not happy about it at all. But the penalty goes the way of Australia. Come on, boys, says Ezra. I should mention, every once in a while, it seems like the chat does glitch just a little bit. So sometimes it seems to put all of the messages from the last about 3 minutes all in at once. That is why there is some delay every once in a while when I do end up reading them. But Maurice Longbottom selling the dummy, goes to Roach again. That'll be the combination they use often throughout this match, and also either their final match or the bronze final. And Josh Turner again, big run, dropped by Lancaster, wasn't quite able to regather. That's a clear knock on, and they will now go back for the scrum. Super Rugby in March. Yes, it is indeed. And that's fine, says November Mum there as well. Australia, just a couple handling errors at the wrong times, really, unfortunately. Like they're saying, the women's competition taking place next week is going to be, oh, there's Adam Ashley Cooper. I've just mentioned. Now that they say that, I recognise the fella. Working a little bit in the MLR over the last couple of seasons. I don't know if he's still attached, though. Now, Moses Leo. Good speed. Lancaster's going to have to try and catch him, forces him out. Brilliant work from the youngster Darby Lancaster. Now to stop a certain try for Leo. They've taken it quickly, and luckily for Australia, in taking it quickly, they've called it back because they just conceded a try if they hadn't. Come on, Australia, says Viniana. Right, so Australia, they didn't take the line out throw correctly. New Zealand, they thought. So why is it called back? So maybe different ball? Maybe? Oh, another player touched the ball, so that's why they weren't able to take it quickly. When you're streaming cricket next, says Amada will be some stage soon. I can't give you the exact time just because it depends on when we sleep, which we haven't done much of because we have been watching so much cricket and rugby. That's going to be half time now, I believe, with the not straight throw. In fact, they might get away with a scrum first. Yes, they do. And advance Australia affair. Come on, Australia, says Viniana. So subs are going to be possibly made here. Referee just explaining the rules to the Australian side. And I should mention that New Zealand versus England, that test match would have started at around 11. I don't know whether there's a rain delay or anything like that. No, they are still going. New Zealand currently sitting on 258 for 4. And they lead by 32 runs currently on day 4. So they'll probably try and set a decent total to then have England try and chase it down over the final day. Now Leroy Carter back across. Dixon goes to Rockalasoa. Manaki Nicole. Nice little step from a big fend as well. Got rid of one. I believe it was Tim Clements who got sent away. Rockalasoa now going back across to the right. Dixon to Carter. This first half still continuing, even though we are up to about 9 minutes in to this matchup. Weber, I thought he was held. He's got back up and gone again. Referee says play on. Dixon, 40 metres out. Carter now goes to Weber. Rokalasoa. Another pass to Collier. Nice step. Back on the inside. Someone was asking for a penalty. They didn't receive it, though. Weber again to Carter. New Zealand looking patient, not willing to risk giving up that ball to the Aussies, because I believe Australia would kick it out at this point on the field, seeing as they are not too far out from their own line. How much do you think England will need to win? I think it all depends on whether New Zealand's middle order can actually fire. I think like they're 4 down at the moment. In fact, once New Zealand put this ball into touch at halftime, we'll have a look at who's still in there, and I'll give you a bit more of a analysis of it. Now, it's going to be still New Zealand, 30 metres out. They'll play for 9 minutes. Little grubber in behind. He's going to be held off. Josh Turner picks it up, slings it out. And do they kick it out? They do indeed, and that will be halftime now. 14 points to 5 in favour of New Zealand. They decided it was just a little bit too deep inside of their own area to be risking going for the full field try. Yeah, currently for New Zealand at the crease, they've got Williamson and Mitchell, so those two could put on a very good partnership. So I'd like to say New Zealand could end up with a 200, 250 lead, ideally. Seems like it's going to be a little bit more of a batting track, but more than likely it will be less than that, maybe around 150. And then England will clean that up in a pretty short amount of time. Ken Williams has said, let's go New Zealand. And then as well, Dwayne Schultz saying he feels very good. He's happy to be moving through to the finals. Also, we have got there, sorry guys if I offended Kiwis, we have got to offend Australia. Says Ezra, I don't think anyone would have been offended by it, Ezra. Currently, England have a 74% chance win, or 74% chance to win that cricket match. And I should mention Australia-India actually got delayed a couple of days. That will be starting on the 1st of March rather than it was initially going to be starting, I believe, yesterday or the day before. West Indies versus South Africa coming up just around the corner. Next weekend, we've got the Sevens coming back, men and women, Super Rugby, NRL, all happening on the channel. So if anyone is new, sure leave a like and subscribe, because we got plenty more coming on the Kiwi Lads channel. Australia in their huddle, strategic from them. They're actually standing in the shade, trying to cool off a little bit, whereas New Zealand standing in the sun. See a shirt there for Roderick Solo. It's been impressive, although he took a bit of a knock in the last game. Might be why he won't get a huge amount of time out there for this matchup, but they might also be saving him. Homa Highlanders, though, says Max. Yeah, it didn't quite go the way that they wanted for their first game up against the Blues, did it? They did struggle quite dearly, but their next game, they're going to be playing up against the Crusaders, which is also not a very easy game at all. Now, Long Bottom will be kicking off Highlanders or Crusaders this week. Crusaders really lose 2 games in a row. Highlanders are considered a little bit of the Crusaders bogey team in terms of sometimes they won't get the win, but they'll make it extremely close. So I think it could end up being Crusaders win, but Highlanders get a bonus point for being within 7. Probably my prediction for that one. Long Bottom kicks it high. That one will not travel 10. Sam Dixon says, we don't want to mess around with the scrum. We want to keep this game rolling. Lifts the legs off the ground. Does take it nicely. Now Joe Weber looking for the passing option. Decides against throwing it in the end. Now ball loose. Collier. Brilliant pickup from Rokalisoa. Slings it back across to the right-hand side. Amanaki Nicole now to Leroy Carter. Great step again. Another big fend. Here he goes. The ankle tap wasn't effective enough. And New Zealand will get their third as they get closer and closer to booking themselves a spot for a rematch up against Argentina in the Sevens final. Monday's Rugby Scotland versus Ireland next. Yes, we are also doing the Six Nations, but not next week, the week after. There is a bit of a breakdown. I'm working 4 days a week from 6 to 2:30 and working Saturday. Maybe I got Sky Sport this year, says Max. Yeah, there is plenty going on in the world of Sky at this stage of the year. Leroy Carter, great step though. Clements didn't quite take him down. It was actually the ankle tap attempt from Trey Williams that was unsuccessful. I'll be surprised the Crusaders lose twice in a row. Exactly right. Like they're a side that if they lose one, they normally get really angry and they normally go a lot better in their next game. New Zealanders in attendance celebrating that one. That kick has gone over. So 5.5 minutes left in this matchup. The scoreboard still says half time. There we go. As updated by 21 points to 5 is a good position to be on for this stage of the match. Dietrich Roach looking for an offload. Not able to do so though. Long bottom. Going off to Lawson. Been out there on the field the whole time, but that is actually the first time that I've seen him. Now Dietrich Roach going off to Trey Williams. Some good pace being shown by the replacement. Almost rolled into touch, but just stays in. Dietrich Roach. Now back across to Clements. Long bottom. Short pass to Josh Turner. It just seems like Australia really struggling to find those gaps in New Zealand's defence and also struggling to find their footing. Cross kick goes straight into the ends with the hands of Henry Patterson, who now starts driving. Broken through. Henry Patterson, the man is an absolute beast out there on the park. He'll score the try, and Australia now getting back into the contest. Patterson in this match, he has scored every try for the Australians. Scored 4 throughout Los Angeles as well. But ended up in the situation of Collier went for the tackle. He ended up accidentally taking out Rockali Soa. What Sky Sport New Zealand lost its financial expenditure, 1,000 customer withdrawal channel. It is, right? Well, then it will probably end up with it either being on TVNZ or maybe Spark Sport end up rejuvenating themselves. I don't think Sky Sport would go under at this stage, though, because every point of Super Rugby Pacific that was scored, Sky were going to be donating $500 to the Auckland and the Cyclone Fund. So in one of those games, they donated about $40,000 in one crack, and that was only one match. So I think they're doing all right at the moment, I'll be thinking. Now, Roderick Solo takes it nicely. Joe Weber goes off to the right-hand side to Carter again. Now, if you're New Zealand, how many points ahead do you need to be before you start thinking about resting certain players before you make it into the final? New Zealand has scored next to close it out, or at least not let Oz score. Solo gets it. Went for the grubber in behind and just had to wait eagerly but patiently for that ball to set up. Roderick Solo gets his third of the match. Sorry, third of the sevens competition. I want to try. Says Novum. Yeah, nice pass off. Then Roderick Solo knew he had pace, put the grubber forward, somehow managed to stay on his feet. And you got to say as well, fair play to Henry Patterson. I know it's a weird thing to say, but he was the man who attempted the kick when Roderick Solo went for the grubber and behind. And a lot of the times people would just follow through with that tackle, whereas Henry Patterson actually did try his best to let him go as soon as he saw that he had kicked it. Like, yes, he could have maybe ended up penalised if he had held on to that tackle, but a lot of the times the players would get away with that. So fair play to Henry Patterson to be willing to, like, just let him go, I guess. Now, nicely taken by New Zealand again, this time Lewis Ormond. And with a nice lead of 26 points to 12, I think New Zealand should almost have enough points on the board to be able to finish the job. Brady Rush inside ball to Rohi McGarvey Black. A nice pass to Roderick Solo. We know how dangerous that man can be. Another great step. He just pushes them off. And Henry Patterson, he actually let him out of that tackle as well. He's actually thrown it across to Lewis Ormond on the inside. Gets credit for the try. Roderick Solo certainly had a bit more to do with that one than the record books will say. But a great step. That time, Henry Patterson, I mean, I could say the same thing about that tackle as when he did the kicking one, that Henry Patterson generously. Jesus, calf's a bit toned, isn't it, Solo? See, every fibre of that man's calf. Well, it was about to pop out and bring on the final. And you're like, I'll be back home in time for that, says November Mum. Yeah, will be New Zealand versus Argentina at about 2:30 p.m., I believe it will be taking place. Now 1:10 left on the clock. Rohi McGarvey Black once again will be kicking this one off. Lewis Ormond, that one has actually gone back onto the side of the Australians with Josh Turner. New Zealand tried to get the turnover, but the knock on means that Australia will have the last minute scrum. New Zealand currently leading 33 points to 12. So there'll be no chance of the Australians catching them. So Australia, they will be playing Fiji in the bronze final. New Zealand will be playing Argentina in the gold medal final. And then the other match that we are covering will be taking place at 1:31. And that is the matchup between Samoa and Great Britain. So that's in about an hour and a half's time that matchup will be taking place. It's been fed in by Maurice Longbottom. That used up about 30 seconds on the clock. Australia now trying to get one last try. A run from Sergeant Lancaster breaks one. Joe Weber. I was going to say, at what stage do you decide that it's a lost cause to try and chase them down? Didn't want to sacrifice the legs. Brady Rush kind of had that same attitude by the time he got kind of close, but it's going to be the try for Darby Lancaster right at the end of the contest. That will make the score 33 points to 17 in favour of the Kiwis. Joe Weber. That was an experienced veteran move right there. When you know you're not going to catch him and you know that you've got a game coming up in a couple hours' time for a gold medal, there's no real point in risking a hammy or a calf trying to chase him down. And that's something that maybe a younger player would have ended up doing, such as a Brady Rush. He tried to run right across the field to be able to stop him. But Weber was like, no, I'm good. 13 points to 17 in score in this matchup. So like I mentioned, New Zealand making their way through to the final to take on Los Pumas. But that will be the 74th time that New Zealand have been victorious over Australia in their 93 meetings of the past. But thank you all very much for being here. Like I mentioned, be sure to check out those next live streams that we have got coming up in the near future. Hello, brother. Thank you for your work. Says Justin. No worries at all. We've got 3 more Sevens live streams to go in the day. And after that, I believe we might have cricket tomorrow. It's the next one that we are going to be covering. But thank you all very much for tuning in. I will see you all for the next one.